Okay, most web applications that you see have, after you register for an account, you have a way that you can log in and then the website remembers you. So like Facebook, you log in and then you get your wall posts and you don't get somebody else's wall posts. So we need to work on making our site so that it can remember people after they've logged in. So this lecture uses we'll talk about two technologies that will allow that to work, and that's cookies and sessions. So we'll talk about cookies, then we'll talk about sessions, and then we'll talk about redirecting users, which is a nice way to make our site a little more user-friendly. So on my assignments page, I inserted one more assignment called cookies, and I did that by using this assignments link right here in the assignments.php page. And I've also created a cookies.php requiring the functions, requiring the header. I print the header. Remember the title, which is cookies, and the link that I want highlighted is assignments. So that's why assignments is red, but the right here, when I click on cookies, assignments is red, but the title is cookies. So we'll do our work for cookies on this page. Alright, first let's briefly talk about what cookies are. Cookies are just little pieces of text that browsers will store for the websites that you visit. So when you visit facebook.com, Facebook will tell your browser to store some information, and then when you revisit facebook.com, go to another page within their site, you'll send that information back to Facebook. And that's how Facebook can know that you're logged in and know who you are and keep track of you. So not all cookies are bad. Cookies can be used to track what you do on the web, but they are necessary for you to be able to use sites whenever you have to log in and the site wants to remember you. So not all cookies are bad, and in fact we're going to use cookies to be able to remember our users that log in. So let's get started in learning how to tell browsers to remember certain information. And usually you can use cookies to have the browser remember what color you want your web page to be, or certain other preferences like that. So I'm going to have a div right here, and this is just to show some little thing that we can do with cookies. So this text will change color, and I'll style it the color up with a variable called color right here. So get out of PHP mode, and there. So this text should change color based on what this variable is. We just go into PHP mode and print out a color right here. So we'll set the color to red to begin with, and right here we see that we have some red color text right there. But what if we want this color to be based on the user's preference? Well, first of all, the user will have to set the color that they want, but once they set it, we can figure out what they set it to by seeing what's in the $_cookie associative array. So if there's a cookie called color, then we want to set that color to the color that prints out to that color. So we'll just set color to the value of that cookie. Right there. And if they don't have a cookie set, then we'll just assume that they want red. Okay, we refresh and we see that it's red because there's no cookie set on this browser yet to tell it that it wants a different color. So how do we set cookies? We do that with a function called toSetCookie right here, and there's two parameters. One is the name and the other one is the value. So we'll set the value to blue right here. Now there is a third parameter, and that's the expiration date, or how long you want the browser to remember this information. So you can look in the textbook to find more information about that, but I think without leaving it on, it just becomes a session cookie. So the cookie is set until the user will close their browser or shut off their computer, then it will forget that cookie. So by default, I think you just get a session cookie, which is as long as the user has their browser open right there. So let's see how this works. We'll go back and we'll refresh this cookies page, and since we set a cookie to blue, we would expect this to be blue. However, when we set this cookie to be blue, the browser didn't send any information. Remember, we're creating this web page right here to send back to the browser. So on the request, the browser didn't send any preference for the color. So since no preference was set, we're just going to default to red. And when this page comes back, then we tell the browser to remember a color cookie of blue. So the next time the user visits this page, then they will see blue. So we'll refresh this one more time, and now it's blue. So we can also go into our preferences and look at our cookies right here, and we can see that the site name, localhost, which is the site, my site name, if you're looking for your cookies, make sure you match that up with the site that you're using, and you can see that I have this color cookie set to blue right here. And just so you know, this is the site name right here. Whatever comes before the first slash in your URL is your site name. So that's the color cookie right there. And now we can see every time we visit this page, the color is blue. So let's I'll snap my fingers really quick, and I'll let I'll give the user a bunch of links to decide what color he wants his page to be. Alright, so I have put in here 4 links with different colors, and you can see on the query string I'm passing in the color that they wanted to select. So the user can click on these different links right here, and if you notice, it goes right back to the same page, cookies.php. It's just a different value on the query string. So when we get back to the page, we look for any color variable in the query string, and if there is one, then we'll set the cookie to that color. And then if there is a cookie of a color that they're using, then we'll use that for the color, and if not, then we'll use red if they don't have any preference. So let's see how this page works. They'll click red, and we would expect to see red text here because they just said, hey, I want the color to be red. But all I did was set a cookie telling the browser to remember red instead of blue, which was the previous color. So now if I look at my cookies, at this cookie that I've set, if you see, it's red, but when I was drawing up the rest of this page, including printing out what color I wanted here, I used the old color cookie, which was blue, and that's what the browser sent. So when I refresh the page one more time, then I'll get the red. So there's that one page delay because we're not taking into account the color preference on what color to set this. We're just taking into account the color that was saved in the cookie. So when I click on blue, it's still red, but now I click on green and it's blue because there's a one page delay. And when I click on orange, it's green, and you guys see that one page delay right there. So to fix that one page delay, we might want to combine these. So we'll take the top preference right here, and if they want a new color, then we'll set that color to the color that they want right there. If they are happy with the color they have, then we'll use the color from the cookie, and if they don't tell us what color they want in the query string and they don't have a color for their cookie, then we'll default to red. And that should get rid of the one page delay. It's still a one page delay in getting the color that we want, but we're going to always use the color in the query string. So now when I click red, then it's red right there. And even if I get rid of this color up here, if you notice it's still red right there. And now when I click green, it will be green. I could get rid of the color in the query string, and now the cookie's telling it to be green, and so on. So that's cookies, and you only want to use cookies for setting preferences. You don't want to use it for remembering people that have logged in or not. That's what we're going to use sessions for. But before we move on to sessions, there is one gotcha with cookies, and that is you can't set a cookie if you've already sent some HTML information out. So let me show you the error message if we try to set a cookie if we've already started some HTML. Now, in some instances, PHP will not let you set the cookies if you've already sent some HTML. So ways that we could send HTML is have some HTML text up here or anything in HTML mode. So when we do this, we refresh the page. And let's go ahead and try to set a cookie. And we get this warning, cannot modify header information. The header's already sent. So what that means is the output started on line 2 and we're trying to set a cookie on line 7. So if we look here, now the output started right up here and we're trying to set a cookie on line 7. So notice we have some output in HTML mode. So you can't have anything even so much as a space right up there. So we refresh this, and if you notice the space still causes the error. So once we get rid of all of that, then it works. Now that also makes us right here, notice we require these the functions in the header.php before we set the cookie right here. And if these have anything in HTML mode that is any space or new line either at the very beginning or at the very end, you might have a couple of spaces or a couple of new lines or something. Anything in HTML mode will cause a problem. And one more thing that will cause a problem is printing something out. Now this could be any text. It could be a SQL statement, some debug information that you're printing out. If you do that, we'll get that warning, cannot modify headers. So make sure that before you set your cookies that you're not printing anything out. You might have to comment out some debug information, and you also might have to edit your functions and your header to make sure they don't have anything that's in HTML mode. Now it's okay to have stuff inside of the function in HTML mode. It's just outside of functions in PHP mode that when it copy and paste that in, it will cause some HTML to get produced. And again, how you read this error is this is where you started producing information right here, and this is where you're trying to set a cookie. So we can't use cookies to store login information because it's too insecure. Cookies are stored on the user's computer, on their browser, and they can easily edit them and try to change who they're logged in as. They can try to be logged in as an admin and then create a whole bunch of havoc on our website. So for that reason, we're going to use sessions instead. And sessions use cookies. So we use a cookie with we set a session cookie with a really long random string of characters, and that identifies the browser. And then on the server side, we can store information that's associated with that session. So the who's logged in is stored on the server, which the user can't edit without being able to somehow gain access to the web server. So it's a much more secure way to store login information. So what we're going to do is on our home page right here, and you can choose other pages to do this. I'm just going to print out some the session status information. So if someone's logged into our website, we'll be able to tell who it is and what their email is right here. And then on the About page right here, I'm just going to log in a user. Now normally the user would want to type in their email address and password, and then we'd store this information, but worry about that in a later lecture, and we'll just learn how to use sessions without worrying about verifying an email and password. So we'll just log in a user with this email right here on the About page. And then on the links page, we'll just log someone out. So let's get started on the About page right here. In order to use sessions, PHP automates pretty much everything that we need to do with sessions. They'll set the cookie for us, and they'll also store the information so that we don't have to worry about any of that. All we have to do is say that we want to use sessions and tell it what to remember. So we tell it we want to use sessions by using the session start. Now this does set a cookie. So just like set cookie, you can't do this before you have some HTML content or even a space right here or a blank line, or else you'll get that error that I just finished talking about. So call session start at the beginning of your page right here, and as you can tell, I'm going to log in user2 with an email at fred.com. Now we really don't have a user2 with this email address. We're just kind of creating a user. He's not even in the database, but that's okay. We can still see how sessions work. So once we start the session, then we have access to this associative array called session, and we can just save values in it like this. So we'll set the user ID to do, and we'll set the email to bob@fred.com. Right here. So now that we've done that, whenever the user visits the About link, they'll be logged in as user2 and bob@fred.com right there. And now let's go back to the home page right here, and we need to edit this home page so we can print out the information associated or that's stored in our session. So I set it up right here. We just need to go into PHP mode and print out the user ID that we stored in the session before, and then also print out the email address as well. So now when we do that, we should see the user ID and email address right there, but we're not seeing it there. And I just wanted to do that on purpose so that you could see what happens when we forget to start our session. If we don't do session start, our entire session disappears. So we can't save anything into the session, we can't pull anything out. In order to be able to use sessions, we need to do session start. So I won't do it in these videos, but you might want to think about including session start in your header somewhere, so that way it automatically gets called. But I'll just put it here for these videos. So now once we've done that, we can see that the user2 is logged in and bob@fred.com is his email address. So now what if we want to log out? We'll do the log out on this links page right here. So let me pull up that code right here, and there's a function called unset right here, and to delete something out of our session we need to call that right there. So that unsets the user ID, and we can unset the email as well. So we're basically just erasing these two things out of the associative array, this session array right here. We can also change these values to different values, but this works pretty well right here. So now we'll visit the links page. I'll probably should put some information here saying it's going to log out a user, and once we develop the real login and log out, we'll delete this information out of these pages. This is just to kind of see how these sessions work. So now we'll go back to our home page, and we'll visit this links page, refresh, we'll go back to our home page, and Bob's still logged in. Well, what did I do? well, once again, I forgot to call session start at the page. So if you don't call session start, you can't change the variable, you can't even erase anything. So now once I do that, I can go on the links page, and now I'm not logged in. Visit the about page, it'll log in a user, and now we can remember the user. We can go to some other page and come back, and it will remember that user. So now they're remembered until they click on this links page, which will log them out. So that's how sessions work right there, and we'll use this capability now in a later lecture. Instead of logging them automatically in, we'll have them type their email address and their password, or we'll verify that their password is correct, and then we can log in the user. This to make this a little bit more dynamic. Instead of always logging in user 2, we'll just get who they want to log in out of the query string right here. And we'll print these out down here as well. So now when we visit the about page, instead of always logging in somebody, now we're not logging in anybody because we didn't include anything. As we can tell, it's still blank. But now we can put the user ID to be 5 and the email to be fred@fred.com, and we'll do that, and it'll hopefully log them in. And as we can see, user 5 and fred@fred.com is logged in. We'll log him out. You can see he's logged out, and we'll visit a about page, and we'll try to log in maybe Mary, who's user ID number 4. Now, since we're not verifying anything, these aren't real users in my database that have registered, but we'll do that in the next lecture. And now we can see that Mary is logged in. Last thing we want to do now that we know about sessions is to use sessions to make the site a little bit more user-friendly. When we register for a page, and I'll go ahead and register Bob. And when I click register, I'm taken to the same page where it says congrats, you're registered. But afterwards, I might want to send them to a page that has some more content, like say maybe the members page that has all the members that are registered in our site. So since he's submitting the register form to the register page, from the register page we can actually redirect them to the members page, and that'll after he clicks register, and if everything works out just fine, we can redirect them to this members page, and then you can see that. The same thing when I delete a user. When I delete a user, I'm on this page right here, and they have to click on a link to get back to the members page. Be nice if we deleted the user and sent them right back to the members page. And this is done with a redirection. And to redirect the users, we'll open up the delete.php, and we have the delete page right here. And instead of printing the header right here and any content right here, we just have one PHP block. And if you notice, since we're not printing the header, we don't need the header here. So this page has absolutely no content on it unless we get a SQL error, and of course we can print out the SQL query. But if everything works out just fine and we delete the user, we can redirect them using this header function call. And we can put location and a colon, and then the page that we want them to go to. So we want them to go to members.php, just like that. So we'll go ahead and do that change. Notice I'm not requiring the header anymore. I'm not printing the header. I'm not requiring the footer. And there's no content on this page. And we'll just redirect them to the members page. So we'll go and register Bob one more time because he's been deleted out. And now we'll go to the list of members, and when we go to Bob, go ahead and delete them, and notice now we're back at the members page. But now we have a problem because although Bob could see that he's not in the list anymore, we don't have any message to confirm that he's been deleted or anything like that. So that could be a little confusing. We might want a message to flash up here to show him that he's been deleted. So work on that next. Okay, so just to show you what happens when we do this redirection, the web browser will request 2 pages. So when we'll go through this one more time with Bob. Poor Bob keeps getting deleted and recreated. But when we go back to here, when we click delete, we make a request for the delete.php page. And when we get that page back, the page tells us that what we really want is the members.php page. And so then we'll make a request for the members. So our browser actually makes 2 requests, one for the delete page and then one for the members page. But for the user, it just seems like it's one link to the next page. So we need to remember, and as you can see, we just went right to this. So we need to remember the message that we want to print out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our header.php file. This is where the print header function is defined, right here. And we have this navigation bar, and right below this navigation bar we'll create a div for a flash message right here. And I'm going to style this to be green right here so it sticks out a little. Maybe we can make it red or something else, but anyways, it's a different color so that it sticks out in the website. I'll go into PHP mode, and we're going to use our session variable, and we'll check if it is set, and we'll go into the session variable right here. So if there's a flash message set right here, then right here, then we'll just print it out. Like that. So now we can, and notice this is the header, and it's on every page in our site. So whenever we want to put a message on the page that we're going to, we can just set a variable in the session called the flash, and we'll print it out. The problem is once we put it in there, it'll show up on every page, so we better get rid of it after we print it out. Now, just a small side note, in order for this to work, we do have to call session start on the pages that, on all of our pages that print off this header. So we'll save this page, and we'll go back to our index.php. It already calls session start, but we'll go ahead and we'll open up the members.php page, and we'll call session start on this page so that it can receive so that it can have the session variable and get stuff out of the flash before we print our header right here. So now that we have that, we can go back to our delete page down here. So we can go back to our delete page, and right before we redirect them, well, we also have to start our session. And right before we redirect them, we can set a message saying user deleted. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll register Bob. And we'll register him. Now we'll go to the members right here, and when we'll delete them, we'll see the user deleted message up here. course, I probably would want to style this better so that it sticks out more. But now the delete goes right to the members page. At least it appears that way for the user, and then we see this last message. Just an overview of what's going on. One more time. We'll register Bob one more time. Go to the members page. So when we go to delete them, we request delete.php. So we request that page, and that runs the script right here. We start our session, and then we delete the user out, and then after we delete the user out, we set this flash variable saying user deleted, and we tell the browser to load up the page members.php. So then in our header .php, it sees that that message has been set in this session, and it prints it out and it erases that message. So that's how we get the message at the top. So now we'll open up the register page and do the redirection on that page. So now we're at the register page, and one thing to note on this right here is the header is exactly like session start and the set cookie. We can't have any content before, so if we have a blank line or anything like that, we can't have any content before. So if we want to redirect them, we can't print out stuff before we redirect them. Printing out SQL queries, if we're using that for debugging, will be one thing that we can't do before we redirect them. So I'll tell you how we can debug with that and print out debug information, and then deal with the redirection on that. But right here, if we have a valid post, everything seems to work, and this is the register.php page right here. If we get down to here and we still have a valid post, then we should have inserted the user into the database. So I'm just gonna change this really quick, and so now if everything's valid, now we can redirect the user, and if not, then we could say the variable so they show up in the form. So again, this is the registered page. We just inserted the user into the database, and now we can redirect them. So we can set our session, our flash message right there to you are registered. And then we can use the header function to redirect them. Now we got to be careful here, and this will introduce a bug. If we keep on going, we'll print our header, and when we print our header, we'll print out any flash messages that we have saved. And so if we save this flash message right here, then it will get printed out here. But the browser won't see that. We'll ignore this page because we redirected them, and then we'll redirect them to the members page, and we won't see the flash message. So whenever we redirect someone, we always want to exit our script, because they're not going to get a web page back that they're going to be able to see. So there's no use to go on and print up the rest of this page. So if we did want to, so we'll redirect them there. So let's see how this works. Go to the register page, and we'll register Jerry this time. And we can see that we're on the members page, but the flash message didn't show up. And why didn't the flash message show up? Well, on this page I forgot to call my session start at the very beginning. So we'll delete Jerry out and re-register him. And now we see you are registered, and Jerry's in down there. So once again, reviewing this, we have to start our session so that we can have access to the $_session variable. Whenever with everything worked and we inserted the user in the database, if everything is still worked, we can say you're registered and we can redirect the user. Now what happens if we want to debug and we want to see the debug information? Well, if we print something out, we can no longer redirect and we'll just get a warning message. So what we do is just comment out that message right there and then print out all of our debug information right here. And so we can try to register, George. Right here, and now we see that we can see our debug information right here, and then we don't see any web page, which is what we want, because if we're going to redirect and we don't want a web page coming back. Then once we get everything working again, comment out our debug information and put in the redirection. So going back, we'll delete Jerry out and we get redirected. We'll delete George out, we'll get redirected, and now we can register Jerry again. And we see that it all works the way it's supposed to. So just remember that if you're having trouble and you're on pages and you're redirecting them, stop redirecting them, comment this out, and then print out debug information. And that makes our site a lot more user-friendly. The only other page that would need it would be the update page, which is you do it in the same way that you did the register page, so I'll just let you do that on your own.